Hello everyone, it's Laura Jane. Thank you for joining me today for the All Things Handmade video hop with Altenew. Today I'm sharing a unique project called papercasting, something that I learned I think it was 2014. I thought it would be a great time to look at it again and share the process with you. I'm going to be using a stamp and die set from the All Things Handmade collection, which was released earlier in the month of February of 2022. You're also going to need some form of paper, like tissue paper, toilet paper, paper towels can work, and I've also heard that paper pulp can work as well. Today I am going to be showing how I use just toilet paper rolls. The stamp and die I am using today is the Quaint blooms from the All Things Handmade collection. You could use this technique with any kind of stamp. I like the ones that have a lot of detail for the paper casting. The first thing we're going to do, take our stamp, lay it on the craft mat here, and then I'm taking a few squares of toilet paper. Okay, I'm going to layer up 4 layers. 2 squares covers the entire stamp, as I'm going to be working with 2 images from this stamp set today. Just placing the die from the set, running it through my die cutting machine, and I cut 2 of the smaller image, setting the large stamp image, placing it down, making sure that that die cut shape is turned over and placed on the stamp. And I'm taking my fine mister and giving a good spritz, and we want to saturate that tissue. This is simply clean, clear water in the fine mister. I'm taking my hands and pressing down. Another spritz, and this part is important to remove as much water as possible. I also have an acrylic block to help press the water out, as well as make sure that all that tissue is coming in contact with all the fine detail in the stamp itself. This is just a junk towel and wiping up the water. The more water you squeeze out of that tissue, the better the casting is going to be. Taking my fine tip tweezers and gently lifting that paper cast tissue. Set that aside and let it air dry. Now moving on to the smaller image here, doing this, so I'm taking my fine mister, give a good spritz, use the acrylic block, press the excess water out. You can see with this small image, if I use the acrylic block and lift it straight off, it just pulled that casting right with it, and that's not what we wanted. So I placed it right back down, smushed it on, and then slowly drug that acrylic block straight down like a squeegee, kind of removing more water off of the stamp. Then I could continue with my towel and dab up more of the moisture from the paper, pressing that wet tissue paper down into the grooves of the stamp. Now let's take a look at this little one. Turned out so well. I wanted to see if I could use the heat tool to dry this, speeding up the process, and it seemed to work really well. This is where that palette knife comes in handy. You gently hold that palette knife to the wet tissue casting, and you can use it to flip as you dry. Hold it in place. Ooh, it gets scooted around there. Now you don't want to scorch that tissue paper with your heat tool. Ask me how I know. And so let's take a really close look at that casting. That's so pretty. And again, this Quaint blooms is perfect for this technique. I think there's so many little details. I find it very interesting. And then here's the larger image. Wanted to again speed up that process with the heat tool. So as I'm drying these, I'm trying to decide what do I want to do with them. It's kind of addictive to make these, especially with those coordinating dies. You can just make a ton of them. Here is a look at these several castings that I made. I decided for the center of each of those Quaint blooms, it would be fun to use some of my grommets. I have a whole stash of vintage grommets there that I haven't used, and not only are they perfect size for the center of these blooms, but I think they'll also help hold the layers of the casting together. For your casting, if you want them to be more stout, you use more layers of the tissue paper. Again, I used just 4 layers for this one, but in the past I've used 6. You could use 8. It just depends on how many squares you can spare. So for the backgrounds, I did some stitching on some scraps from the Verdant Walk paper pack, a 6x6 size. I created several backgrounds, and I arranged the various castings on each one. So this first one, I did a little bit of hand stitching around the grommets and then stamped the word hi on it. This next one, I just placed it on a background, had some of that mega stamp frame die, and they hang in there. And this last one is my favorite. I kind of looped some embroidery floss through the center of the grommets on 3 of those little ones, and then stamped my sentiment. This is part of the All Things Handmade video hop with Altenew. I encourage you to like and subscribe to our channels. We appreciate that so much. Leave a comment for chances to win some prizes. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed watching this technique, and I hope that you give it a try. If you do, tag me in your social media or let me know here in the comment section below. I'll pop over and see what you've done. I think this is such a pretty way to have a lot of white space on a card or on a project. Great texture, and just another way to stretch your stamps. I hope you enjoy crafting your life with Altenew as much as I do. We'll see you next time. Bye.